So it's been a while since our last episode, and well, joining me today is Lyra.
Hello.
I think it's been almost 2 months since our last recording, and
Yes.
we kind of like say we wanted to take a bit of break because I think we had some backlog and things like that, and all have been up. But boy, so many things have happened while we were not doing recording. In fact, one of my friends was asking me, he said, so many things to talk about. Where were you guys? And so we are back again, right?
Yep.
And Lyra, today, remember we're just discussing, what to discuss. And I thought we might just kind of look at some of so many things within Malaysia, and also remember that 2024 is a year of election. So many elections. In fact, they say elections impacting almost 70% of worldwide population.
Yeah.
And of course, what's happening in America. I think the last few episodes, we kind of talk about media, we talk about the lawfare with former President Trump, and all those things are coming to focus, right? But maybe we start with you. What have you been observing the last couple? I know there's so many topics you can go in, but what kind of interests you? And maybe maybe we can do it like this. You can give your thought, and maybe you can be the one to ask the questions, and then I'll be finding some topic and ask you what you think about it. And that will sort of kind of drive the next few episodes for this show.
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, obviously, we have the obvious, the assassination attempt on the former President Trump. But I think what was interesting was what happened after that. As in, yes, obviously you have a whole lot of conspiracy theorists that came out and say, hey, we have not seen President Biden for a long time, and that there were even like news that was circulating that, hey, is he still around? Like literally. And so I think I've been like, just for a short while, I was quite intrigued by this whole thing, because you see where people who are like literally celebrating that Trump survived this assassination attempt, and yet these are also certain people from among this same group of what you would call conservative. They were also like, hey, where's Biden? Like, I think there is that hope that was being given, as in, yes, while you are looking at these being a political competition, and yet you're still concerned about the welfare of the current president who is still in office, although he dropped out of the presidential election. People are just genuinely concerned that whether or not he is still around, because even with him announcing that he's dropping out of the presidential race through a tweet, and have not seen him for a while because of COVID, and then people are like just genuinely wonder if he's like literally dead,
Yeah, and interesting you brought out the issue after the assassination, because remember, it all started before that, during the debate with Trump, right? And where President Biden really performed very, very badly. Then right after the debate, remember they have a NATO meeting in Washington, and Biden was there, and he was welcoming Zelensky, and he said, welcome the president of Ukraine, President Putin. And I think so many people were saying that is the moment he lost the presidency. But here's the argument that not a lot of mainstream media are talking about, but some within the conservative, some within the MAGA definitely has been saying, if President Biden is not fit to run a re-election campaign, how is he fit to continue to be commander-in-chief? Someone with access to the nuclear codes, someone with access and command to the biggest military in the world. And so Steve Bannon, of course, who represents the MAGA wing, and he said, look, we have to think for the country first. If Biden is not fit to run for election, then he's not fit to run the country. And if we need to have President Kamala Harris, so be it. So what do you make of this argument?
Yeah, I thought it was quite interesting, because I was reading Rahim Kassam, and he's just saying that, obviously with us having the Westminster system, we have obviously something that is called snap election.
Yeah.
But so with the US presidential election, it's just like, it's almost fixed. You always have it on the same date of, after a cycle. But with this, it's almost like Kamala Harris is like a snap candidate. That's what he used, the term. So I just thought it was quite interesting. I mean, yes, well, but he doesn't seem to be like completely cuckoo also, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing I think with him.
It's like, I felt like he still has his, the mental capacity. I mean, obviously there were times when...
Pretty much diminished, I would say.
Yes. So I just wonder if it's... I'm not too sure. I mean, because obviously you still need to adhere to the rule. Just because it's unpopular, does that mean that it's the right choice for the nation? I think because the whole nation is going through such a turmoil, such a, like, literally in a very, very difficult transition time. So even over the next 4 months, it's going to be difficult. But does that justify for a change of a president? I'm not too sure because, I mean, personally, I don't quite like VP, the current VP, but does that justify the need? Just because, yes, he has shown certain mental capacity, but then again, he has been running the country like that for the last couple of years. So then you begin to think, hey, if the president is not fit to be the president, then neither do you have a very favorable VP. So what are they doing for the past few years?
Yeah, I mean, look at Kamala Harris. I mean, I don't think she will call Zelensky Putin. That kind of mistake seems quite unforgivable. But then going back again to now, one of the other points about President Biden was that his mental diminishing was actually pretty clear even during the 2020 election. And yet, so many voters, now of course, regardless of what people might think about whether there's election interference, whether there is fraud or things like that, all those are because of COVID, there's a lot of mail-in ballot and things like that. So you can say that election was very different because of COVID. So many people could vote. But regardless of those arguments, even Biden during the campaign period, I'm talking about 2020, already showing very much diminished capacity. Then, of course, the laptop from hell, his son's laptop, which later on was, in fact, it was kind of exposed by New York Times, and all the mainstream media kind of covered up for Biden.
Yeah.
So because of that, you have a diminished president for the last 3 or 4 years. So one of the other arguments that some people are making is that, look, if you are the voter who put Biden across the line, you are ultimately responsible for lack of leadership now. I mean, we always say the bucket stops with the voter, right? So like Malaysia, we always say we have crappy government or whatever. I mean, too bad. We had to be responsible. So in a way, I mean, this is against Steve Bannon, who say that, look, America just have to go through that cycle and have a reflection. Did we do something wrong in 2020 that caused us to be in this situation now where we have a non-functional president and not quite functional vice president? Because, now, of course, the mainstream media are going to cover up for Kamala. Suddenly, Kamala became the savior, right? And, so what do you think about all this dynamic, like, or even in terms of how the media has been... just a few months ago, Hollywood was saying that Biden was the fittest person ever, so sharp and things like that. And all of a sudden, they all came against him. So are they telling lies for the last 3 or 4 years? What do you think about this media reckoning?
No, I think it's very, very interesting that you're bringing out the term media reckoning, because personally, I felt like US is in a good place. I mean, yes, there were obviously lessons to be learned from 2020, and now, even just coming out so close to the election itself. With all this thing, actually, I'm more keen to see that if people are awakening to the fact that media has been so compromised, and media is the one that is literally the false prophet that is telling you, hey, this is how you should be voting. And because you have heard a lie, I don't think that... I think there is still that sort of opportunity for people to be awakened, as in it's your choice. I mean, if you have been listening to lies, this is the right time to literally turn away from that lie and just admit that you have actually, well, fell short of that line and just come back to the other side. I mean, because there's no saying that you can't have that redeeming quality. I mean, even with Elon Musk, he is just like suddenly you cannot see like a person who is like even more like literally passionate about this whole thing. I mean, for someone who is very liberal, he's just like literally felt like, hey, there's a woke virus that we need to fight, and it's a mind virus. So I think it's very interesting, as in I think it's something for us to see as well. I mean, even going back to like the topics that we have been talking very, very frequently in this show about COVID-19, I felt like people have like short-term memories. They forgot how there's a lot of reports that have been suppressed literally by the media that's telling you, hey, get vaccine, and things like that. And then now more and more truth are surfacing, and yet people just like forget. So I'm not sure how fallen you have to be in order to come back. So I hope that we don't have to like come to the end of ourselves to realize that, hey, the only other way to go is to turn the other side. So hopefully the US citizens, they are gonna like really literally just be awakened by this whole thing.
It's interesting that you talk about how far you have to be fallen, and which brings me to another topic which I've been observing, which has some of my interest. Of course, 4th of July, American Independence Day, was also United Kingdom elections. And now, of course, we don't cover UK so much in this show. I mean, we are really not. I mean, even though you study in UK, you know, I'm a lawyer based on common law system. I mean, we have some connections with United Kingdom, but it's very interesting to the reason I have interest in United Kingdom is because I feel in Malaysia, especially our elite, our top thinker, the influential people, they are very much influenced by the British system. And you can see with more and more desire for universal healthcare, which is based on NHS system. And even remember the generation end game for the smoking one, it comes from UK.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like ESG is raging, you know, and in fact, not many people know that. In fact, in America, ESG is losing steam already. BlackRock is already, you know, the world biggest fund manager is saying that they are not going to use the word ESG anymore because of the backlash from conservative states, which provides a lot of fun.
Well, ESG is only as good if there is profit to the company. I mean, if you don't have any profit, there's no profitability in all this thing. I mean, ESG is just crap, you know.
It reminds me of my boss who say, well, the S part, sustainable. He said, well, if you want to be sustainable, you need to have sustainable revenue and profit. If that's your strategy and development, I'm all for the S, but not. This is not the S which is kind of, you know, discussed about in ESG. So yeah, I mean at the end, but still, you know, we always say, look, people will be guided by their wallet and things like that. But still, some people are not. You know, they can continue to burn their wallet because, again, I think we go back to the power of media and how that trumpet really caused people to think one way or another. I mean, COVID is the best case, but the way you raise the issue really kind of caused me to think that it's really not easy for people to have a different mindset and really be aware of what the media is doing. But anyway, let's come back to UK and of course, now I think another thing that if people just read mainstream media, they probably won't realize that the Labour obtained almost 2/3 of the seats, but only having less than 35% vote share.
Actually, they did even worse than the last election.
Yeah, in terms of vote share, correct.
Yeah. I mean, I just thought it was so interesting because that couldn't be a better scenario to explain why people need to come out to vote. So literally, I mean, because when people are just like literally having hope defer, not coming out to vote, and this is, you cannot get a more further far left government that you see in the UK.
And we just have the example with the recent by-election in Penang, right? And, you know, they say, look at the non-Malay vote, very, very little. Because they just didn't show up because of disappointment. and with seats having small margin and first past the post system, we don't have preferential vote, we don't have double round vote. It's like if I win by 10 votes, that's it. And so many seats during the COVID era, even like Cebu, our area, Palawan, it's less than 100 seats because so many people couldn't go back. So if you decide to not vote, you are actually voting for the other side.
Exactly.
And I think people need to get a hold of that. But of course, it's like if I really hated both sides, well, then why don't you vote for a third candidate or independent? Yeah, I mean, you vote for independent is still better than you don't show up, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great success and great achievement that Nigel Farage's Reform Party is having. I mean, they literally do get the vote share, and it's very impressive.
Yep. And remember the last general elections, Farage, in the last minute, the Reform Party decided not to compete with the Tories. And because of that, the Tories managed to, secure government for the third term. And they couldn't deliver any of their promise from, David Cameron's referendum or Brexit until now. It's like compromise after compromise after compromise. And that brings me to the next topic again. I mean, today we're just kind of touch and go. And we are 18 months into Madani's government. And are we in danger of people becoming fed up because promises are not being met? I mean, there's still 2.5 years to go, or 3.5 years. So what do you make of what's happening right now?
Well, I mean, I do like certain reforms that are in place, as in less reliant on subsidy.
Yep.
I mean, that may be an unpopular opinion. I think it is necessary for the growth of the country. But I felt like an equal measure of a reduction, if you may, in the civil service, it should be demonstrated as well. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you're looking at productivity, you're looking at efficiency. So we really have to ask ourselves, I mean, when you take away the subsidy, but you're still feeding people somehow high on drugs, on welfare, what was the difference? You're just taking a portion of this money to feed to the B40 and taxing even more the rich. So I don't think that will really help the country to grow generally. So I think I've been pondering on this question, whether or not our prime minister will actually be hard on, well, I mean, obviously there's that big bonus that has been given out to the civil servants, but is there going to come a time where Malaysia is going to have to experience like literally a tightening of belt in the civil workforce, to whichever departments that are not functioning or even redundant? You should really think of how do you manage the whole revenue of the country.
Yeah, I mean, we look at like historical comparison. I mean, we look at Greece, for example. A few years ago, Greece was having a severe financial crisis. I mean, they're still not out. And one of the comparison Greece has with Malaysia is just their very, very bulky civil service. So eventually they had to go through the very difficult cut. Now, of course, nowadays, you think about workforce in Malaysia, like the private sector is basically, you hardly have full-time people already. Almost everyone, look at bank and things like that on contract. And I mean, because if you're on contract, I just give you whatever notice. I don't have to give you retrenchment benefit and things like that. Then you look at Japan, for example, they also, for the longest time, one of their biggest employer will be the postal system. And then eventually when it's not making profit, they have to cut. So it's all difficult. I mean, when I look at the number of civil servants, it's not even that many. I mean, it's very bulky, but compared to subsidy, the number of people impacted by subsidy, I mean, would you say that the impact will be similar?
I think so.
But why? Is there maybe because civil service, I guess no matter how you want to put it, is linked somewhat with the Malay rights.
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, and I mean, I was just discussing with David as well, as in, I thought it was quite interesting because if you can't get into civil service, the next best firm to go to would be GLCs. So it's almost like at the end of the day, it's still that security, the job security. No matter how bad you are or how good you are, at least there's that security that you have something to bring to you have a roof over your head. So I'm not sure that would be a good thing altogether. So I felt like maybe the impact would be very similar, as in you either feel the pinch here or you feel the pinch
It's
from
a choose your poison, right?
yeah.
Now let me ask you another difficult question. We did one episode on affirmative action. So now one of the things about affirmative action, of course, is very similar to the DEI. DEI, of course, it means diversity, equity and inclusivity. So, people were accusing that Kamala Harris was a DEI hire. And then it kind of you see, every time you say something and it causes the media, the mainstream media to react so strongly, I tell you that is a cue that you are saying the right thing. You are on the right track. That's why you are triggering them. But anyway, let's come back from America. And so we did affirmative actions. And so when you think about civil service, again, it's very difficult to have this discussion without sounding like, we want to stir the racial thing. But it is the reality, right? That, recently we had the big hoo-ha on matriculation, sport and things like that. But would you say that the civil service and to a large extent GLC are very much ruled by affirmative action in terms of their hiring?
I think so. I think that they are afraid to offend people. Because at the end of the day, you actually do need to hire people based on their qualification. If, again, going back to the analogy of if you have a severe illness, of course you want to get like the best surgeon to operate on you, not based on if this person fits into the DEI profile, So I think, but I guess I'm not sure. Do you need to like suffer a hole in your pocket before you realize that, hey, it's too painful a lesson to learn, or are you gonna like still continue to fight on through?
Yeah, recently, there's a bit technology crisis with CrowdStrike, right? And that's one of the firm hired by Microsoft to handle their security patch. And in fact, Microsoft the last few years has been criticized strongly because of their DEI process. And when it comes to software, IT, historically is the industry of the geek, right?
Yep.
And it's like, geek, it's not a very good term for some people, but those people who are just more IT savvy and they're just so comfortable with computer, you want, excuse me, you want your software, you want your hardware, you want your server to be run by these kind of people, right? And yet the whole concept of DEI, affirmative action, and we're seeing this very, very rotten at university level. So it's like, we must have X number of gender. We must have X. I'm all for opening up for everyone. Women should have equal chance. Young people should have equal chance. People of different races should have equal chance. But you can't say that we need a quota so that we fulfill the DEI. So it's like, are you going to have a quota based on race and color for pilot, and you're going to choose a lesser pilot? Today we announced we have 2 flights going to Cebu or Kota Kinabalu. One is a 10-year experience, have a lot of things, and the other one is a DEI hire. We just think she or he could fly. Given a choice, you wouldn't step into the second plane, right?
Yeah.
Or if it's a surgery that affects yourself. And that's the crux of DEI, right? So anyway, coming back to CrowdStrike, they were saying that some people were saying that Microsoft had been forced. I don't know. It's like the CEO will have to come out and say forced to hire certain unsuitable people. I was just talking to Colin, our friend, who he is a IT manager of a smallish medium firm, and even he said, look, it looks like a very, very amateur rich mistake. You don't test the software and then you upload it. It's like you broke the cardinal rule. Even any IT manager can tell you that you should test before you upload. So anyway, that's DEI for you. And
yeah.
Oh well.
Have you read about the other news on well, now that we're coming into Olympic season?
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, obviously Paris is super
Super warm now.
yeah, and super high on climate conservatism and climate change, those sort of things. So they were just saying that, hey, let's have a bit more climate friendly sort of
No air
Olympic
condition.
village, no aircon. And then you have like teams like from USA, they just say, nope, we're gonna just bring our air conditioning there because our athletes need to work on top notch condition.
Yeah.
And how can you? I mean, literally, that's like the dumbest thing ever that was being proposed for an Olympic.
That's why when you promote ESG and you throw out common sense, there's a whole problem with ESG. You know, it's like if you want to create sustainability, you want to do something that is environmental friendly, we have no issue with that at all, right? But it's like when you know take EV for example. You know, there's like such a you know the way they promote it, and it's like the latest tech you're doing, and you are helping the environment and things like that. But the reality is the technology is not quite there yet. So why would you want to be the guinea pig, right? So imagine, you know, it kind of a bit similar to the COVID thing, right? Okay, it can help you, and now we have so many vaccine remorse, right?
Actually, I've heard very, very interesting cases whereby they were being forced to take vaccine. I mean, because obviously it's employment related, and they had like cupping method to literally extract out the
Really? You're talking
vaccine.
about in Malaysia?
Yeah.
Serious?
I mean, recently I've heard of some people who say that, and they say, hey, actually I didn't want to, but then I had no choice, but this is what I've done right after that. But even then I felt like there's still a bit of vaccine that went into the
how
body.
could you fully extract it out? I
No.
don't think so, man. So, yeah, that's the thing. And I guess at the end, it kind of boils down to, you know, do people want the truth? And if they discover the truth, do they have the courage to say that, look, you know, we kind of use seasons, right? I mean, this season, but we're going to change our format into numbering, right? Because we find people are a bit confused with season, right? But we have been kind of harping on the theme of, you know, the pursuit of happiness. And I think at the end of the day, you know, like you choose what you want to do, you choose the location you want to be. You know, you like city life, you can stay in Klang Valley. If you don't mind something more remote, maybe you can be in Cebu or whatever. You know, you choose the person you want to get married. So all the choices concern pursuit of happiness, right? And so many things like how we consume media and things like that. I feel like people should kind of apply the rule more strictly and say, look, you know, my happiness matter, and I should make the best decision that I will not regret down the track. So most recent example, like you say, COVID, is just kind of have a lot of vaccine remorse.
Yeah.
So anything else you have been observing? And I think we can kind of wrap up already, because we kind of go over the places, but just kind of catch up the last, I think 2 or 3 months, right, since our last recording.
Yeah, it is. It has been a long
Not
time.
the last upload, because some of our upload is a bit delay one, but recording really, I think 2 or 3 months. Anything else that kind of interests you? I mean, of course, all the things that we kind of touch and go just now, we will develop into more episodes, I guess.
Yeah. I guess that's probably all for now.
For now, right? And the other thing we were just talking about, but we will not elaborate, is really, I mean, we didn't realize, I mean, we kind of forgot about it, the Sarawak Day, right? 22nd of July. And of course, it's very interesting that Keluar Sekejap went to interview the premier. And it's very interesting what he said, because in a normal circumstance, he wouldn't get away with it. But GPS is in such strong bargaining power now. But I kept saying that, look, you know, they shouldn't be too comfortable, because if you do a lousy job, you could become like Scotland National Party, so close to gaining referendum for independence to being politically wiped out in this general election in UK. So GPS, don't be too comfortable.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that more.
Sure.
So I guess that's all the topic we want to kind of cover, and yeah, I hope we'll be more consistent in the future episodes.
Yes, we should.
Okay, so until next time, we shall see you again soon.
Yep.
Okay.
All right.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.